Episode 9, Video Game Small Talk. Howdy, folks. It's James, Patrick, and Hope back again to chat about all the multitude of video games that are just collapsing all over us.
There's a lot of video games.
September deluge has arrived.
We are about to drown.
We're drowning already, yeah.
It's already happening.
I'm
video
okay.
games are here. Good, I'm glad you're okay. At least
That's good to hear.
some of us can breathe.
Yeah.
How are you both?
I'm alright.
Yeah.
Ready to kick
Apparently better than you two.
Yeah, I know. Drowning in first world problems over here. Patrick, you've been playing Astral Chain.
Yeah, I've been playing Astral Chain. It's the new game from Platinum Games and Nintendo, actually. This is a Nintendo property.
Happiness. Tell us about it.
It's interesting, and I think overall it's good, but it's kind of hard to place right now. I think it's so... If you think about... Platinum as a studio, they definitely have like a tier, like a certain level of games. They've got the A games like Bayonetta, and then you've got like these sort of more B games like Metal Gear Rising, which is considered very good, but it's not actually, if you look at the combat system, it's not actually that complicated, and it's just kind of like a straight A to B in that sort of game, and it's not, and it's sort of hung on the premise that it is part of this franchise. And then you've got like the C tier games, which is like Ninja Turtles, Korra, that sort of stuff.
Sure.
It's somewhere between the A and the B levels. It's not
Are
quite...
all the C-tier game licensed? Because that's really interesting.
Most of them, but sometimes they... Like Transformers Devastation, for instance, would normally be a C-tier game, but it's, for whatever reason, they put the, like, Bayonetta combat designer on it, and it rules. It is one of the best-playing Platinum games out there. It's only... Transformers, in particular, is only held back because it's got a loot system in it, and that loot system sucks ass. But, yeah. But... Astral Chain is like this weird mix where they've kind of like Bayonetta is pure action all the way, and then you've got Nier on the other hand for that where it's like really because it's a Square Enix joint and it's got Yoko Taro in there and it's got a story is the incredible selling point and the combat's not very good. And Astral Chain is much more of a sort of like mix between Nier Automata and Bayonetta, where the combat has obviously had a lot of thought and design placed into it, but the rest of the game is also really like interestingly involved and complicated. Like, so it's sort of like the setup is basically like, oh, you're a police officer unit, and you, for whatever reason, this like cityscape that you live in is being attacked by hell dimension beasts that are also weird and data things.
Of course,
so it's some bullshit. It's some anime bullshit. Yeah.
The demons are coming. Call the cops.
The plot of the game is some anime bullshit. Okay.
Yeah, the plot of the game is some anime bullshit, and you're basically fighting with these like enslaved beasts, like enslaved demon beasts called legions, and they're like, if you know about, I don't know, they're more like Persona or like Stands or something like that in that kind of way. So so the combat is actually super interesting because you're controlling your own character and you're also controlling this other character at the same time. And then you also, it comes down to like stuff like positioning between, like, this is still a character action game, so you're, fighting, dodging attacks, doing standard combos and that sort of thing. But your other character, you're also controlling them, you're like shooting them out at people, you're trying to, like, there's a chain going between you and your own character, like your own character and your legion. And you're actually trying to like actively wrap other characters up in that chain or use it as a damaging thing or all sorts of bullshit.
And that's why they call it Astral Chain. I was going to ask if it was kind of like, in Nier how you've got yourself, but you've also got like the little drone?
Yeah. So in Nier, that drone is like basically attached to your back. It's effectively part of you, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a gun turret that you've got with you.
Yes.
But is it controlled kind of similarly, or is it like a lot more complicated?
I think it's a lot more complicated because, like, what you're doing is you can, like, there's a button you can hit where you sort of merge with it and then you, like, do a special attack based on that, which is, like, okay, slashing or aiming the bow or whatever, or riding on the dog's back or whatever. But then there's another one where, like, if you hold down the left trigger is, like, their attack option, and basically you can hold it down and then use the right stick to reposition that your stand, your legion, and move them around the battlefield and stuff. And then you can also like send them to attack a specific opponent or like reappear next to you and defend you and that sort of stuff. So
but like while they're in a position, do they just attack whatever's closest to them?
Yeah, so they attack autonomously, but then you can like sort of force them to like appear next to you and then immediately do an attack, or send them out at someone and then do an attack, or you send them at someone and then you pull another trigger, and then you launch yourself at your own guy, and then you're both there just beating the shit out of someone, like at the same time.
Cool.
So, like, it's like actually really difficult to wrap your head around, and
It really does sound
Yeah.
like it's quite complicated, yeah.
it's ridiculous. Like, most Platinum games are fairly like, okay, you're the guy, and then you're going to do the thing, and you're going to dodge stuff. So it's got that layer of it, but it's also you're controlling this other character at the same time, and it's super
It sounds
fun.
like a
Honestly,
lot.
I like it, but you have to ease into it so much. Like,
yeah, I
it's
was going to say, how
crazy
long
complicated.
do you think it's taken you to kind of feel like you've gotten the hang of trying to control the two characters at the same time?
I think it eases you into it in a fairly good way in terms of just being able to, get from A to B and finish fights, and, like, it feels good to play the game already.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of getting good at it and seeing how deep it is, I'm definitely not there yet. There's like
how far into it are you? How long have you been playing?
I'm like chapter 7. I've been playing it so handheld, so it's hard to get a time as to it, but I would probably
Right.
say about like 10 hours ish, maybe a bit less.
Fair enough.
So the other thing is that there's a whole, like, each mission is basically divided into 2 segments, like an investigation segment and then like a combat segment, basically. And the
Right.
investigation segment is like this surprisingly fully featured, like, it's not quite an open world, but there's these like really large levels where you're going through the level and you're often doing like a police work, basically. So you're like,
Is that kind of like the open world stuff that I've seen?
yeah. So
Right.
it's it's sort of nearish, except Nier is like a lot more like, okay, there actually is an open world where you're going from A to B. This
I
is
think all I've seen of this game is like people trying to carry cupcakes through
Yeah.
a busy train station.
yeah. Like, there's like side quests where you're like, this game is actually packed full of mini games, which is like fairly Platinum in some ways. Like, it's just got a whole bunch of, like, I've been doing some box stacking puzzles basically.
Nice.
And then like stuff like, search for this location, and it's got like, you've got a camera fairly early on. It's just like taking pictures of everything in the game, which I actually like because it unlocks like a little bit of lore and unlocks the character model and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that stuff in games, and it's actually really fun to have it in a Platinum game because everything's so frantic, and you're just like, hold on a second, I'm just gonna whip out this camera and try to take a picture of you. So when you like just do it randomly, everyone's in the middle of some sick ass animation, and like you can actually get your Legion to take a photo of you, which I think is really funny.
Hey, that's
Aw.
rad.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know, like, this game is really varied, and the thing is though, if I think about it, like, if you think about Bayonetta as like a 10 on the action scale, and you think about Nier as a 10 on the story scale, Astral Chain so far is probably somewhere like an 8 on both of them. So it's not, because it's so varied and like miscellaneous, it's not hitting those highs of the other games that they've put out before.
Sure. Yeah.
It sounds like it might be best of both worlds, though, a little bit.
I think so. I like it a lot. I think
It sounds like it's got a lot of character.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of goofy shit, like, there's a police mascot dog that's all over the place. There's like, literally, I was doing an investigation, which is just like, you've got to handle cleanup for this like, I had a massive boss fight that took like 2 chapters that was like chasing this giant enemy through the streets of Future City Tokyo, or whatever the hell it is.
2 chapter long boss fight.
Well, it was like 1 chapter was like investigating blah blah blah, conspiracy blah blah blah, and then at the end of that chapter they summoned the boss, and then the boss was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go on a rampage." I was like, "Okay, fuck."
Fuck
So,
some shit up.
but then this chapter after it is like, okay, well, that boss went on a rampage. Now you gotta clean that shit up. So
That's
it's just
kind
like,
of cool.
so it's like the whole police force being like, okay, well, we gotta do this. Can you help us out with this? Can you help us out with that sort of thing. So.
I mean, you don't normally get to see that side of a big boss fight.
Yeah, so kind of what it feels like is, I don't know, Platinum was just like, oh, we really enjoyed working on Nier, but we want to do our own sort of take on it, and we also want to have our combat be like even more sick-ass Bayonetta style than it was in Nier, which was probably, slightly constrained by whatever Square wanted to do, or something like that. So it's like, I don't know, like you said, like, it's a Platinum's own spin on this sort of action-adventure, more focused on the RPG wandering around investigation segment, but still having good combat, I think.
Neat. Do you get does it feel
yeah.
like it's going to be like a big, like sort of long adventure, or?
Yeah, I'm fairly long into it, and I mean, like, if you think about their like pure, like, Revengeance, for instance, was only about 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
Bayonetta capped out at around 10 or so. I'm pushing 10, and I'm pretty sure I've still got another 5 chapters to go based on what people are saying.
Righto.
So I reckon this might be like a 15 to 20, something like that.
I mean, they've proven capable of making games that are any kind of length, really. I mean, Nier Automata was what?
Nier Automata is
30
any
plus.
kind of length.
Yeah, Nier Automata is somewhere between 20 and 30 hours, I think. Maybe a bit longer.
Or like 5 if you eat the fish.
That's true, yeah, you can just die. Yeah, I don't know. I like it quite a lot. It's just, I also find it a bit puzzling in some ways because I'm not 100% sure what to make of it, but that's probably just because it doesn't fit into my preconceived notions of what a Platinum game should be, I guess.
Yeah.
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 So,
But
yeah,
that's
I'm
maybe not such a bad thing. Like, it's good for them to get out there and...
yeah, I think that part is good.
I'd be really curious to know what you think about it in like a couple of months' time when you've kind of been able to like not play it for a bit and maybe revisit some other ones and yeah.
I think that is part of... Well, I will be curious as well because the investigations, like the slower side of stuff, is pretty good the first time you see it, but I don't know how fun it will be the second time through when I'm trying to like just, you know, get really good at the combat or something like that. And but there's like there's plenty of style. It's really snappy. The only thing I will say that I don't really like is that the visual identity is kind of garish. Like it's good looking in stills, I think, but in motion it's actually really like, because you've got these two characters you're trying to keep track of, and then the camera is kind of like your basic action adventure camera, which is like trying to figure out the best way to show you what's going on, but most of the time it's clipping through someone's face or something like that, and you're like, this is not what I need.
Stuck on a wall.
Yeah, so it works most of the time because most of the combat arenas are like giant flat plains with not much to get stuck on, but like,
Right.
yeah, it can fuck up. Oh, and there's platforming, which sucks. Like, there's like, the platforming is okay, and they're like,
Bad
I know what to do,
platforming.
but like, it's just not, it's not quite what you want.
I hated trying to like do any platforming in Nier.
I just don't like platforming generally, so this
See,
is
I
not
do
my
like
deal.
platforming, but I feel like a lot of these games just are not designed for it.
Yeah, I mean, the 3D platforming with, I don't know, the way they make them is not super great.
Yeah, I'm with you, Patrick. 3D
Yeah.
platforming. Actually, platforming in general, not so great. The best platformer I think I've ever played might be outside of like Mario, might be Dead Cells. But that's like an action
I love Dead
platformer.
Cells.
Yeah. Dead
Anyway, I'm
Cells
gonna-
is
That's fantastic.
amazing.
I'm going to keep
What about
plugging...
like the Rayman games? The 2D Raymans? Or like Ori and the Blind Forest?
Yeah, they're
or...
fine. I've never played Ori and the Blind Forest.
I think you said this to me before and I had the same reaction.
I just don't think I like platforming generally speaking, so...
Yeah, that's fair
Well,
enough.
that's fine, because I don't like shitty fighting games.
Wow. Wow, Hope.
Well, no one likes shitty fighting games, please.
They're all shitty.
People
Oh,
love
no.
Balls 3D.
Oh,
What
no.
are you talking about?
I'm
What?
gonna-
People love Balls 3D? Wasn't that like a SNES?
Yeah, you
a
mentioned
SNES
that once
game?
and I still don't believe
Or
you.
like,
That's weird.
what was
Are you
that?
sure you're not thinking of Bong 3D? What do you-
Hey, tell me about River City Girls.
Okay, so this will be a quick one. I got
wanna
a
know all
code.
about 'em.
I got a code from Way Forward for this one, so this one's a sponsored post or whatever. But it's like it's a really good brawler right now. I only played about 40 minutes of it, so I'm not 100% across it just yet. But the animations, the pixel art animations, are really good. I actually quite like the writing, so to speak, which is basically just like delinquent girls want to go find their boyfriends and are going to beat up everyone in their way.
Great.
That sounds great.
Yeah, the art is really good. And the combat actually, if you, I think the brawler maybe to compare it to other than River City Ransom series is probably Scott Pilgrim, because that was also a game that had like really good pixel art and really good music and was just a fucking tedious chore to play because they didn't balance it. But River City Girls is actually fairly good so far. I'm obviously only 40 minutes in, so I can't say definitively anything, but it feels pretty nice right now. They've got good combos. The boss killed me once and then I beat her, so whatever.
Take that, boss.
I know. I'll keep playing.
Neat.
It's a recommend so far, but again, haven't been playing too much of it yet.
Yeah, cool. See how you go. Come back
Yeah.
to that one.
I heard the story is not, the like end story is not great, but I'm gonna go find that out for myself, I guess.
Wait,
Cool.
so like no one gets like punched in the groin really hard?
I don't know. Just people are like, oh, I wasn't happy with the ending. I'm like, I didn't know that people would like have a reaction to the ending. So
I wouldn't have expected the ending to be something to give you an opinion.
Yeah, so that's
like
kind
other than this game is now.
Yeah, I'll be interested to find out what the hell they're talking
about.
People
have to get mad online about something.
They really do.
Yeah, James,
something I'm not getting mad online about is WRC 8. Which is a World Rally Championship game, which I'm sorry to subject you both to this because I know that you both physically turn into garden gnomes when I start talking about racing. It's actually really a really frightening thing to watch happen. So yeah, this is the latest rally game from Kyloton, which is a French developer who's been handling sort of a lot of the rally official rally games for the past. I don't know. Maybe they've done all of them. I'm not actually familiar. I know they've definitely done like the last 3 or 4, and they were fine. This one is actually the best. This one is easily the best one.
Hey, a game is good.
Yeah, I know. Yay.
Game's been good.
Obviously got all the official teams and all that sort of fun stuff. It looks really great. I'm actually really impressed with how it looks, especially the way the dynamic weather works and sort of looks coming over. You can sort of see the clouds like coming over, and if it does start to rain, you'll see the ground start to muddy up, and you'll feel the way that the car moves around start to change, and it's just. It doesn't have, like, the old WRC games used to have this weird feel about them where it felt like the car wasn't connected to the road, which is always just like a really disconcerting feeling when you're trying to like drive, especially in rally. Rally games are hard enough as it is. You need a really good feel to be able to feel comfortable flinging a car around a gravel track really fast, and this one kind of nails it a little bit. It's got a whole bunch of really cool cars. It's got a whole bunch of like old legendary cars from, you know, like the 70s and the 80s, you know, from crazy like Group B cars through to like modern Porsches, which and they
so
feel
like is a legendary
fine.
car. Sorry, I know that this is.
I'm trying to race through it. Patrick is having a heart attack.
Patrick is like no hope. Don't ask this question.
No, I'm just. You said legendary cars. And I'm just like, are you going to ask about rare cars? Are you going to ask about mythical
that's
cars?
The thing, like, I don't understand what you mean when you say legendary car. Like, is it a car that like famously was raced by someone and beloved?
Basically, yeah. So they're like cars from a certain era, like cars from.
But is it a car or cars?
Cars. There are several cars. There's a whole bunch of them.
No. I mean, like,
a series of cars. Is it like a specific?
Is it like a make of car, or is it like one specific car that, you know, the same actual physical car that became famous?
Yeah. No. It's like it's like. The one that you would
like
see on a
this
poster.
Car
that's kind of how they've done it. It's like
to Bob Bobson, and it was his best car.
Famous rally driver Bob Bobson.
Yeah.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. It is like the iconic versions with, you know, those paint jobs and.
Okay.
That's kind of the whole idea behind it. I think is like giving you the chance to sort of drive those sort of more iconic cars from. You know, that you would never ever see in a real life rally event anymore because they're far too dangerous. It's like driving, you know, a steel can with an engine bolted on it through the forest at 160 plus kilometers an hour, which is what these people do. Yeah, it's fucking wild. Anyway, this game's really good at it, and it's actually a really good surprise because the last ones haven't been so great. This one's got a really detailed career mode in it, which they've like revamped entirely. You can manage your entire crew. You collect mail between events. There's like calendar, a big old calendar where you organize what you're going to do in between events. So you can either train or you can.
Is there like time units you're using up?
Sort of. What you use up is like the fatigue of your crew. Okay. So, and you have different crew that you can assign for each rally, and sometimes they'll be good, sometimes they won't be so good. They might make mistakes. They might, you can have like a weather forecaster who might forecast the weather incorrectly, and like so, therefore you've made the wrong tire choice, and that's going to cost you a whole bunch of time. Stuff like that. You don't want to get caught on like a wet rally stage with dry tires on because you're just fucked. But that kind of thing can happen. And then the whole career mode aspect of it is just making your way up through the different categories of rallying. Starting out from the slower cars all the way up to the full-on World Rally Championship cars. And as far as the tracks go, I don't know if they're actually real tracks or not. I probably should have found that out beforehand. But if they are based on like the real actual stretches of road that they use in the rally, that would be pretty amazing. But the tracks are pretty long. I don't know if I would call them legendary tracks. They're fun. They're fun to drive, but they're really long. They're like, some of them are like 10 kilometers long, and they take a really fucking long time. I cannot imagine, because I've got a steering wheel here, so that makes it like extra fun to actually try and drive these tracks. I can't imagine sitting there with like a controller trying to concentrate for 10 minutes straight, flinging shit through a goddamn forest. Yeah, which is what you have to do, because this doesn't have like a rewind function or anything like that, like the grid game does, or like a Dirt Rally does, or any of those games. You can restart the entire stage if you want, but too bad if you fuck up like 8 kilometers into a 9 kilometer stage. Enjoy that restart. Anyway, those games are always challenging, so it does what it does really well. I'm really impressed with it. If you're a rally fan, it's totally worth picking up. Go and grab it.
Right.
I like it a lot. Hope, you've been playing Heave Ho, which is awesome.
I've been playing Heave Ho.
Hope.
And that is
Heave Ho.
All about Heave Hope.
Heave Hope.
Oh wow, so amused. Yeah, it's this really cool little Devolver title, and then it's made to be played with a group of people. So I've been playing it with my partner, and it's just like, I don't think I've laughed this hard playing a game in a really long time.
Yeah.
It's got a real mount your friends sort of vibe, and you're essentially a face with arms and hands,
less
and
floppy
you can
dongs.
So you can move your arms with one stick in directions, and then you can grab your hand. So once you grab one hand, you won't be able to move that hand anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's about sort of climbing your way to things, but also sometimes you might need to do it in conjunction with your partner. Like you might want to grab their hand and swing over so you can reach something. Or Aaron and I always try to get the coins, so we're usually grabbing the coin in between us and then sort of being like left hand, right hand, left hand.
Like a multi-person quap, sort of?
Yes. That's it's a lot easier than Quap. It's not nowhere near as obtuse. But it is very, very fun. And I think it gets funnier the more people you add. But it's not the kind of game that you'd want to play with someone who's a dick. Like, it would be really, really frustrating because they'd want to go off and do their own thing or just be really pig-headed about something, and you really need that coordination to succeed.
It's a fight instigator.
Whereas like when you're playing it with someone who you like and you're friendly with, it's really, really, it's such a good fun time. And even when you die, there's a real lightness to the mood and it's not very punishing. So when you die, it's just really funny most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It helps that when you usually you die by going off screen. Sometimes you might do it by falling on spikes, but you always like spray your blood like psh, all over everything, and like often all over the other person if they've just like dropped you on some spikes accidentally or something.
It just geysers everywhere, huh?
It makes death really funny. And then later on in the game, there's actually some levels where you can't see the platforms, and spraying blood on them is a tactic to help you.
Meat Boy style.
Yeah, it's just. I had no expectations. I heard people say it was funny, but I'm not a very funny person. I'm kind of a dick.
Lies.
So I wasn't expecting to like be like party boy in the house and have a good time. But it turns out that even someone as lemon-faced as me can have a good time.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Heave Ho's totally that type of game.
Yeah,
you've been playing it too, right?
You can definitely add it to the like party game rotation list or something.
Yeah.
I absolutely recommend it, and it's cool because I got it on Switch. So like the other day, I took it with me to.
Oh, did you have a rooftop party?
Well,
Nice.
I'm no Karen, but I did take it to me. we do like a quiz night at GG Easy almost every week, which is the esports bar here in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And the quiz is it's meant to be geeky, but it's quite often just general knowledge, which is lame. But anyway, we go there, and I brought it with me specifically because, like, oh man, I can play with my quiz friends. And then I totally forgot to pull out my Switch.
Nice.
But then when I was at the train station with, like, my one friend, I was like, oh my god! I pulled it out, and we sat at the train station, and we played for, like, 5 minutes while we waited for the train. And it was really fun.
How cool.
Nintendo Switch living up to its promise.
The perfect Switch game.
It really is, because it's also very incredibly simple graphically, which is not a slam or anything, but it just means that you don't need, like, it's not having to communicate lots of information visually, so even on the smaller screen it's really fun.
Yeah, that's a good consideration, actually.
Speaking of games definitely not on the Switch.
I'm trying to imagine it on the Switch. Oh my god, it doesn't run very good even on the, like... I hear it's dropping... Well, we're talking about Control, by the way.
Yeah.
I hear it's dropping frames on the PS4 Pro. Is that true? I know it's definitely
I'm
like
playing
nuking
it on the PS4 Pro, and
I know it's nuking like normal ass PS systems, so
it's not having a good time. Every time I come out of pause or save or if I just complete a level, it'll take like a good maybe I don't know, like 20 seconds to like be good again.
Yeah, wow.
Like, it may not be that bad, but I did also notice that sometimes when there's a lot of enemies on screen, I'll have a similar problem, and I think that has made dying a little more frustrating than it needed to be.
Yeah, I was about to ask how your death reload stuff is, because it's frustrating enough just because of the game design, let alone
well, I feel like
times.
the loading times are pretty bad as well. Like, it's the kind of thing where whenever I die, I'm like, I'm gonna look at Twitter.
I think the load times are bad on PC as well, so that's not a isolated thing.
I hate that we're starting this talk this way, because I actually do think that Control might be my game of the year. Like, yeah, I have loved it.
I just think we can't really talk around it's not really working on base systems, I think, for like a lot of the...
and
that's a real pity.
It really is a shame, like, because I was talking to you guys, I didn't have any issues until I was probably about halfway through the game, and it feels like that accumulative save issue.
Yeah, it's building up a shadow.
Yeah, and Skyrim had this and they patched it, so like, hopefully it'll be fixable.
Yeah.
But it just sucks to come in and be like, hey, let's talk about this game, and then we just slam it.
Yeah, it does suck, because I think Control rules, honestly. Like, yeah. I'm actively considering stopping playing it, but I still think it rules.
I was so terrified because I was having such a good time, and my this accumulative save thing was getting worse and worse and worse. I'm like, is this going to get to the point where I don't actually get to finish it? And that's kind of why I stopped going off and doing as many side quests, because I was thinking to myself,
that kind of blows, yeah.
If I minimalize my adventures, then I can get this finished.
Because the game is actually really, really fucking good.
I think we're all having a good time. We all got keys.
What do we like about the game?
Who gave us the keys, James?
The what?
James gave us the keys. All praise James.
James gave us the keys.
Well, Remedy. So Remedy actually came out and gave us a whole bunch of keys to play with, which is really great. Yeah. So I played on the Xbox One X.
It's fantastic of them.
I'm
on the PC.
Hope is on the PS4 Pro.
Yep.
And I mean, so for me, because I was on the Xbox One X, I definitely did notice some performance problems. Nothing like along the lines of what Hope has spoken of, but I've also had sort of my own weird issues that they haven't had, like things like when I bring up the map or any of the menus, like the map won't display.
Sometimes the map doesn't display for me.
Doesn't show up at all. Sometimes I can bring up the menus and I can't do anything. Like there's no cursor, there's no nothing, so I have to go out of it.
I haven't had that menu issue, but I've had the map thing, and it'll still usually have the names of the places.
Yep.
But not the actual map image.
No overlays.
And it's not loading, basically.
But the thing with that is, sometimes it just won't. Like, it's not a matter of wait for it and it'll come. I've had it a couple times where it just that's just the way that map's gonna look for.
Yeah, and you know what's weird is for a little while I thought that was a part of the game. I thought it was like, maybe my head's
it's the oldest house just fucking
hiss.
around.
So just to fill people in on what the game actually is, because we've just like spoken a whole bunch about it and nobody actually knows what the fuck Control is. It's a third-person action game where you play a character who's walked into a federal building somewhere in New York. A place called Oldest House, which is the base of operations for the Federal Bureau of Control, which is like a secretive government organization.
Basically, if you can picture the most secret government organization that you can, that's what we're dealing with.
It's like the MIB for weird shit, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, transdimensional entities and altered items and all that sort of thing. Easy stuff. And it kind of just sort of throws you in the deep end. You go there seemingly under the premise of like you're going there looking for someone, and you've also kind of been drawn there by this energy that has that you
manifested in your brain.
That you're introduced to pretty early. Who your character Jesse speaks to a lot throughout the game. And that
I like that. It's so weird.
It is kind of weird, but I also don't mind it. Like, it's. I like how when she speaks to herself, she kind of bites her tongue a little bit. Like she kind of
it's
bites
weird
her
and
lip.
Lynchian.
She's like
it's like
it is like it's so aesthetically it's
like
a David Lynch nightmare. Like it's
like looking
nightmare.
looking at the crowd. It's like an aside to audience, I suppose, in some ways, almost like.
It can be incredibly jarring the way it just kind of
it makes conversations so stilted and awkward, but that kind of fits the vibe of the game. It's the best part.
And it's something that I really didn't like when I first started playing the game. Like every time Jesse would do it, I'd kind of like go.
I remember hearing that sort of reaction from people who saw it at like E3 and preview events and stuff like that. They were like, I don't know what they're going for, but in the full game at least, it seems almost to fit in with the rest of the general weirdness of the universe.
Yeah, once I got further into the game and I started sort of understanding the vibe that it's trying to get across, those parts felt normal. Like I can understand, there's a lot of things like that in the game at first where it kind of feels like it's trying too hard to do something.
Yeah.
And then you realize that it's actually not trying to do that thing you think it's trying to do. It's very cleverly doing something else.
And I think that's probably the thing I enjoy the most about Control is the vibe of it, I guess. The whole... Like, because honestly, so far the story has been like, okay, go to X, go to Y, do X on the way to Y, and whatever. So that's not super interesting to me, but the vibe of the Oldest House, like just exploring this fucked up, multi-dimensional government building. And I think the most interesting thing is the way that, like, you know, the Federal Bureau of Control has like colonized this building and is trying to like get something done in it, basically, which is like to hold all these items and investigate and all this other shit. But they've like there's notes you'll find everywhere, and this is one of the games where you want to run around and find all the collectibles and stuff just because the lore is so good. Like
that's actually something that's really frustrated me with this game, because I am really, really invested and curious about the lore, but I do not want to read it every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
There are the occasional things where you can find the tapes with Dr. Darling, like, and they talk
those
you through
things. Those full FMV videos are great.
The FMV videos are great, and
that's the actor for Alan Wake, isn't it?
I don't know. I've never played Alan Wake.
He's Will Scarlet in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Darling
no
is
way.
Alan Wake.
Is that him?
Yeah.
No way. Yeah. You just blown
Darling's
my
Alan Wake,
mind.
and Trench is Max Payne, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. And Courtney Hope, the main actress, she was also in the previous game, and she's in
Quantum Break.
Yeah, she was in Quantum Break, and she is also an actress on The Bold and the Beautiful.
Wow, really?
Fantastic.
Crazy.
Yeah, I found that out today on IMDb because I was like, where have I seen her from? It's not there, but I've never watched that TV show.
That's wild.
So what's this you feel about the collectibles, Hope? Like, you don't want to read them in the middle of a combat sequence or something?
No, it's not even that. It's just I don't want to read them.
Oh, okay.
I find it a really inelegant way of delivering lore, like having to pause the game and go into the menu and read a file.
In this circumstance, I kind of like it because it is just an office building, and it's full of
it's like often personal correspondence, or it's like a file case note or something.
Yeah, and it's like full of it's full of like redacted
bullshit.
Yeah, and it's
maybe
just,
if
like,
it wasn't so much,
but
you pick up a collectible like easily once a minute in some
I don't know what other
areas.
kind of form it could be though, like besides the videos and audio logs or something like that. Like
I think the only problem I had with the collectibles was those audio logs, because you had to stand around and listen to them. You
can't scroll through them, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
If you move away, but you do. Some of the audio logs do store.
Yes,
in your,
they do. Some of them
items.
Yeah, like under Darling stuff or whatever.
Yeah, but it doesn't
like,
play that version immediately. Like you've got to go into your case files and actually go and find it.
It is quite weird.
Instead instead of just sort of do it while you're out in the world. But that's such a small thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think I can't bemoan paying writers to sit around and come up with like collectibles if I'm gonna. Even if I don't feel like reading it, which, to be honest, a lot of it, not a lot of it, because a lot of it's actually really well written and really interesting to read. But also, when I'm in the middle of, like,
combat,
getting some shit done,
that's my biggest thing with it, right? It's not that it wouldn't be interesting to read it, it's just that...
And there's a lot of moments
usually
of just
when I'm playing a game, I'm doing
shit
something.
done, in this game.
I
love...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, go on.
I don't know. Okay, well, I'll go first. I like to save it up, and then when I come back to like a control point that I control and like check in on Pope or whatever, I'm just browse through a couple of documents and go back out into the world, sort of thing.
Sure.
So this is my big. I think Destiny, like the first one, might have done something like this, but some games give you companion apps where you can go through this stuff later on your phone.
Yes.
And I would love that for this game, because I would sit there and I would read it on the train. I just don't like doing it when I'm playing a video game.
That's probably overestimating Destiny's Control's power though. To like put out a companion app for it.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, but like just a way to access those. Like, even if they just had them on their website or something. Because I really, really enjoy this world and the lore that they've built. Like I'd play another game in this world. I'd watch a mini-series in this world.
You know what? I think there might also be the PC console divide, because I hate doing it on consoles, but apart from the Switch, but I quite like it on computers. So
that's actually a really good point. Like I am playing on my couch on my TV.
Like in
it's
Oblivion,
very frustrating to read things.
Like in Oblivion or Morrowind, do you like end up reading any of the books and stuff? Like, because on PC, I always read everything in every game. Because I'm just like, well, I can sit here and read this like 4-tale Argonian maid story or whatever.
I did read those just because she's very lusty.
Yes, she is extremely lusty. She'd probably be locked up in a safe in this fucking house.
Wow.
They found a lizard lady, they'd lock her up in a safe. That's what they would do.
Maid.
And then someone would just have to stare at her forever.
I just met that guy, so I don't know what to do yet. Like, he's just like, can you come back? And I'm like, okay, I'll come back. And then I tried to come back, and she just pressed the button and nothing happened. So I was like, okay, I don't know. I'll have to come back a bit later.
I think you need to finish that main quest before you can...
I think so, yeah. I haven't gone... I just got the power you get right after that, so... yeah, I'm not as far in, and part of the reason is I find this game extraordinarily stressful to play.
Really?
Like...
Oh, really?
Like...
So I found this really interesting, because I am the biggest wuss in the world.
I'm a huge coward.
Really concerned about Control, because it presents itself as kind of like a horror game, but... The thing with Control...
That's the atmosphere that nails.
It's got a bit of an atmosphere to it, but you always, to me anyway, feel quite powerful and capable. Like, I never feel like I'm being hunted or that I'm under any real threat. Like, I might die, but it doesn't have that scariness to it.
I think there's two parts to it, and one part is that I used to read this, well, I still do, I guess, this like microfiction horror thing, which is based on essentially the same premise called the SCP Foundation, which is like Secure, Contain, Protect, and that has a lot of similarities to the point where this evokes that in my head to me.
Right.
And the other reason is I went on a SCP binge after, because I was reminded of that, and then I was like, oh shit, existential horror, fuck. And like, I'll talk a bit more about that in the recommendation section, but like, and then just another part of it is that even though Jesse as a character, especially with TK, with telekinesis, like that power is ridiculous. It's so good. I love it.
It's so strong too.
Like, I feel like a freaking Jedi. It's so great.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think my main thing is that I can't ever be sure I've actually cleared a place because this motherfucking hiss will just teleport in. I'll be like, why did I do anything? You just pop up again. I know it,
noise.
Right, but the noise is a bright red flashing suddenly, and like the constant hiss is like
no, I mean
it's
when
meant
you
to,
clear
but
a
it's
place.
yeah, no, it makes the noise when you clear a place, but when you come through again, like sometimes like dudes will just spawn in like in a bright red flash, and like obviously it's like okay, I could kill these guys in like 3 seconds. I don't care that much. But it freaks me out. It like there's no sense of safety to anywhere besides the control points, I guess.
Yeah.
And like it's just a constantly stressful environment, and I don't necessarily want to feel that all the time.
Yeah, I don't know if I felt that it was I don't know if I felt that constant stress. I think I definitely felt periods of downtime in between certain sections, especially but because it is such a large but enclosed space, you do sort of do that almost Metroidvania-esque type thing of going to one place and then backtracking and going somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to do that through like clearance levels and things like that. Sorry, go Hope.
No, I was just thinking out loud. When I played, I've definitely had that sensation of like, I don't think I'm going to get a fight in this area because these are corridors, and then when I come out of them into a big room, I'm like, and now I'm going to have a fight, and then the red things appear. Like I definitely feel like
that might be part of it because I don't feel that at all because I always feel like I could get jumped at any moment, and
I don't have that at all.
Except when she puts the gun away. That's the only time I'm like, okay, I'm clearly in a
when you're
motel
in like
situation or something.
Yeah. No, I feel like it's always been fairly obvious to me, at least, when I'm probably going to find myself in combat.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I'm still not sure how I feel about the combat. Like, I think it's good, but it's good because I'm OP right now. Like, I don't...
I fucking love it. I love it.
I didn't like it at first, and now I love it. So I wonder if maybe you just need to keep going a little bit.
I think with this new power I got, I think I'm a little more invested, like I said, I was pretty frustrated at that last boss fight. I died like 3 or 4 times, and I don't like the checkpointing.
Which because power it makes was it?
Levitate. I just got levitate.
Oh yeah, right.
So
you're quite far. Oh wow,
yeah, you're a long way.
But I only just got levitate. So
levitate's like the last power. One. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely the last one on my skill tree.
Shield is optional.
Yeah.
So like whether or not you got shield is.
Well, I did most of the
or is
side
it dodge.
No, one of them's optional. Well, I think both of them are optional.
No, dash is definitely.
You have to get dash.
Optional.
Oh yeah, you have to do some like that platforming stuff. So, well, I've never used shield, so that doesn't really matter. But still, like.
Oh, so I've never used shield really either until now that
could obviously be part of my problem with the combat system.
No, so now that when I was towards the end, I started using it just to get me like to be able to run across to get health.
Yep.
And then when I looked at the trophies, there's an achievement for like using shield explosion or something, which means that you can eventually level up your shield to also be an attack.
Yeah, there's some sort of like when you drop the shield, it'll shoot the shield forward, something like that.
And now I'm like, man, I should have been using that shield more. That sounds great.
And just to explain like how the mechanic of the shield works and how it kind of like manifests in the environment, what you do is you actually pick up all of the debris around you, or the ground around you fucking pulls apart, and you're physically pulling up like bits of concrete and tile and just debris.
The environmental destruction is so rad in this fucking game. Like, holy shit.
Very cool.
And mind blowing.
It interacts with the brutalist architecture of the whole place.
So
in this, like,
fucking
really beautiful way. Because there's just
really
massive chunks of concrete flying around. It's like,
when you clear a control point and like the room like sort of physically changes.
Yes.
The room starts off quite Escher-esque with like bits of geometric
impossible
shapes
geometry all over the place, and just like
out,
big
but when you actually get to a control
and
point and you activate it
turns back into
normal.
A still sort of brutalist pain in the ass, but it's like a nice normal brutalist pain in the ass.
And it's kind of funny because it becomes that really sterile clerical environment again suddenly, and it's odd because it's still an unsettling place to be.
Yes.
And it conveys that very well.
Yeah, I think that's true.
You found the ashtray maze.
I saw it and I haven't walked into it yet. I know it's part of a story thing, and people are like,
with it yet.
People are like, oh, that's the moment of the game for me or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get to at least that bit before I'm like, okay, I'm too fucking wuss to keep playing. But I think I probably will end up finishing it. I'm pretty sure I'm fairly far in.
It is such a cliched concept, but they do it so well.
It is proper.
Don't spoil shit, but
proper fucking Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole shit. It's great.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. Like, I was playing it and I just had this like weird little twisted fucking smile on my face. Like, and I think that's part of what I really like about Control is it indulges my interest in these scary and psychologically thrilling things without actually scaring me. And I think that's part of why it's really struck a really positive chord with me, because if it had gone too far in either direction, I would have either found it like repulsive or terrifying. But instead, it's just perfectly intriguing.
Also, the environmental design in terms of like lighting, especially, it's so stark. It's like you know when you have to do that really early janitor quest to clear the furnace, and you just look in the furnace room and it's just this fucking giant orange light at the end of the chamber. I'm like, oh my god, that looks so cool.
When
like,
I saw that, it was like, okay, do I want to see this on a brand new video card?
Yes.
With ray tracing on.
Yeah, it's got all the like reflection shit, and I was just like, man, my computer cannot handle that, but I wish it could.
Just like, I would just turn it, like, I've got a 1080 in my PC. If I had it on this, I would probably just turn that on just to get just to capture a frame of a screenshot and then try to turn it off again before it melts.
I'd be in the same boat, right? Like, oh shit, I've hit pause though, and now I can't move for 10 seconds.
Yeah, so that's sort of the downside to, like, it's such a pity that this truly incredible experience is kind of trapped behind these issues for console players.
Yeah, and I mean, in some ways, I can kind of see why it is a bit of a like it's the.
Well, it must be a technical nightmare. Like, look at it;
complex.
It's crazy.
Like, it's just it cannot be overstated how crazy the destructive tech in this is.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, especially when you're chucking stuff. Not only are you picking up things from Half-Life obviously had like throwing physics shit around before, but like it didn't have this amount of like, oh, you hit a pillar and the pillar will just explode into concrete pieces.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
Well.
Or you see things like if you fall onto a giant steel pipe, like the texture map in it will change because you landed on it.
I saw that.
Detail.
Yeah,
it's wild. It really
just ripping shit out from the wall.
Yeah,
when a rocket hits something, like there's just
there's also the presence of the sort of suspended bodies.
Oh god!
Because a lot of those
they freak me out.
Jesus, I didn't.
A lot of those can be enemies in hiding, and I think some of them will only activate if you attack them. So
I mostly leave them.
I've mostly left them alone because if you go to where you're so what they are is they're basically office workers who've been taken by the hiss. We didn't explain what the hiss is. The hiss is like kind of the thing that is this harmonic resonance that is floating throughout the building that is like invading people's minds and turning them into fucking freakoid zombies.
It seems to be an entity as well.
Yeah,
like, it
definitely attacking the board.
It has a goal and a desire.
It does play on those themes a little bit. Not to get into spoilers or anything, but it doesn't ever kind of manifest in that way, but it certainly does.
It's not just like some sound driving people nuts. There's something else behind it.
There's an intelligence there, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you going back to like the office workers, if you go and look at the positioning and you go and look at where they were actually doing stuff while as they got lifted up into like or taken over by this hiss. If you go and have a look around like some of the lunchrooms and stuff, you'll see below at the tables where people were sitting and they had like their files out or they had a glass of coffee or people were having a meeting. It's a really small detail, but you notice it when you go looking. And because this is that like enclosed space that you can explore a whole bunch, it's really inviting in that way to this game absolutely actually is really good for my love of like surface textures because it's got some really amazing detailed stuff to look at, especially the Astral Plane. The Astral Plane has this really great like black and gold swirly marble stone texture all the way through it that looks really fucking good. Oh my god, this game looks really, really good.
Have you so did you upgrade your sort of telekinesis, it's called launch, to be able to launch people as well?
Yes,
yeah, I can launch pretty much everything at this point. It's so... launch damage is so useful. I can delete units, basically.
It's so powerful. And it's like... And then, of course, like, they make you get it all powerful, and it's clearly the game's like, use this, and then there are enemies that are like, I dodge this all the time.
Yes, that was actually quite bad, because you get launch, and then the first enemy boss you fight after is immune to it, and you're like, fuck you, why would you do this, game designers?
It feels very purposeful. But what I was going to say is, when you're launching people, you actually kind of hold them, just in front of you, and you can get a really good look at some of these creatures that you're launching.
Oh,
and
okay.
They are a lot more messed up than I thought they were before I had that power.
Oh, okay, jeez.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing by taking over their brain, whatever that power is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good too.
I ended up using that a lot. That's actually
really it's good
useful.
because anything that turns a unit is usually good, or summons one, because AI can't deal with threat prioritization very well. So
yeah.
It also just, like, a lot of this game for me, I found anyway, with the difficulty, is it's very forgiving a lot of the time and incredibly easy because you're so powerful. But then if you do start taking damage, you're probably going to die.
Yeah, I think it swings and
fast.
It's like really swingy between the two, because all enemies drop health and you're supposed to sort of charge in to get it, I guess, is what they're trying to do. And that mostly works because there's not a lot of like enemies that'll shotgun you, but I feel like you, like, aside from shield, I guess, but you don't have a lot of defensive options in a way. Like the only thing you can see coming is the rockets and the grenades and stuff, which is great when you grab one out of the air and just chuck it back at someone. That's fantastic.
Yes.
But
and yeah, so to me it feels like with the combat, having that ability to seize someone else, and shield, even though shield feels kind of useless when you first get it, if you have those two abilities, your survivability goes up a lot, because that's all you really have for defense.
Yep.
Yeah, I think maybe the things I don't like right now, well, they're not going to get patched, but still, like, the fact that all the ammo is shared, because one of the things in shooters I feel should be like when you switch weapons, you should get like that reprieve. You should be like, you're switching weapons for an emergency reason. It's like, okay, I'm out of pistol ammo, I need to switch to my SMG, I'm out of whatever, that sort of thing.
Just to clarify, there's no real ammo. It's all a single gun that recharges.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Well,
I'm just saying for the listeners' sake.
Yeah. Obviously, from a lore perspective, it's like, okay, that makes complete sense. But like, just as a gameplay sort of thing.
So you want to change to a weapon you can use immediately.
Why I actually like that in this is because it makes the push and pull between the weapon use versus the power use really smart.
That is true. You do end up just being like...
I mean, but in terms of the shooting, I have definitely just stuck with the standard pistol weapon almost the entire game.
Pistol is really good though.
I did use the others like a little bit as well, but I've mostly just used the pistol because it's super accurate. You can fire it off really quick, and if you get headshots, which is generally what I try to go for, then you can take guys down pretty smartly, pretty quickly, and then getting a couple of guys down with like that pistol, and then while that's reloading, flicking to my launch and just throwing shit at people, you could clear a room, in 10, 15 seconds and really go in there and fuck some shit up and make it look real good at the same time.
I absolutely alternate between firing and launching. While one's recharging, you use the other, and I think that's a really cool way of having it. It means that the second I don't have either, though, I'm probably gonna die.
Yeah.
Because like if I've messed up my sort of management of those two sort of pools, then I go down real quick. But I have used every gun a lot. Because they all, like, once you actually get used to them and you have good attachments on them and stuff like that, they're all really good.
Yeah, they're all like archetypal guns in some ways, right? And I think that's really cool. I just wish you didn't have only the 2 slots to choose from, but also maybe that's more of a console, like, just because I'm playing on mouse and keyboard, I'm just sort of like, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sort of thing, as I would have in a shooter, but,
I can see that. I mean, you just go into your menu and you change it out. Like,
it's just not something you can do. Well, it's something you can do mid-combat. It's just not something I think to do mid-combat, you know?
It's something you can do mid-combat, but if you're playing on my system, you might die from not being able to move when you get back out of the menu.
Oh, fantastic.
No, in particular, two of the later guns that you get, the Pierce.
Pierce is fantastic. It's so good. Spin? Spin or Shred? Whatever the shotgun is?
No, the Shred's like the Shatter.
Yeah.
The shotgun's Shatter. I use Shatter a bit.
I think there's a nade launcher I haven't unlocked yet.
There's one more gun, and what it essentially does is it gives you 3 missiles.
Oh, cool.
And like the longer you hold it down, the more missiles you build up. So like you start with 1, 2, 3, and then it fires them, and they're like rocket launchers.
That sounds like something I want.
Yeah, but if you know, and I found that towards the end in the couple some of the end areas I was having trouble because I'd get overrun really quickly, but using those 2 weapons, I could take enemies out from afar. And it really changed the way I played for a little bit. Like I'd hang really, really far back and sort of just send in these like really hard hitting weapons that, you know, could go the distance and clear them out. So, and then once I actually wanted to go in there and finish them off, I'd change back to the Shatter. So I had the shotgun on me and things like that. So I actually think, at first I didn't like the service weapon at all because I found the pistol felt really weak. But once, that one's called the Grip, I think.
Yeah.
But once I started, because you can attach mods to them to make them better, and once I started doing that and really playing with the different weapons, like I found that I interchanged them a lot for different circumstances.
I'm not sure how much I like the loot aspect of it in some ways because I don't know how loot relates to which enemies.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I've been doing pretty well just going forward and just making stuff whenever I can make stuff and whatever.
Yeah, loot feels random as hell to me, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, that's actually my one big downer on the game. Is I mean, aside, like the technical issues aside, which thankfully haven't really gotten in my way all that much.
I feel like I'd rather be rewarded with the mods than to, like, for side quests or something like that, rather than just get loot for killing enemies.
I mean, you do get mods.
Yeah, I know that does happen, but like.
But yeah, basically what it is there's these random materials, or they seem random anyway, and there's a bunch of different kinds, and different things can be used to make, like, either you can get these different types of guns, or you can get mods for yourself or the guns. And what makes what feels super arbitrary, and also how you get them feels also super arbitrary.
Yeah,
so
like,
it's kind
dudes will just drop stuff, and I'm like, I don't know how this relates to this character or this monster. It's not like you can go to this place and only X enemies spawn here, because as far as I can tell, his just teleports in randos all the time, so.
Yeah, the only thing that's different would be like the mold enemies.
Yeah, I started fighting them, immediately died, and ran away. I was like, what the fuck? I'm out of here.
I did a similar thing. But yeah, it doesn't feel like that makes any sense or has any, like, it's not like you can go farm an enemy because you want to be able to make your next gun upgrade or something like that.
Maybe if you did the intrusion alert stuff or something, you know, have got the time. That stuff is really annoying. I don't know. Well, it's there for the loot system, I guess, but it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, all you ever do with it, I mean, I've only done a couple, and it's just like destroy the nodes every time.
Didn't seem fun to do.
Or like kill a certain number of hiss affected in this area, or, you know, any number of things. And all that does is like help. It's basically a way for you to farm mods, which, you know, just attachments for your guns. And
I think the mods themselves are really great. Like, I like having that level of customization. Like, because you can really choose what you want to enhance, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way
you had more personal slots.
I don't like the way that you build your own. I don't like the way that you craft your own at all. That's the that's where you. That's like totally
loot boxy.
It's really weird that the weapons aren't locked behind story progression. You just sort of make them one day. It was like, oh, I'm waiting for my upgrade, and it's like, nope, you're not going to get an upgrade. Just make it at the control point. I was like, okay.
Yeah, the kind of the way they lock that off is through the.
And that stuff is important. Like, it opens up so many gameplay options. So.
It really
does.
Well, I mean, that stuff, and especially for me, it's especially the powers. Once I gained a couple of powers, especially that launch power, it made a really big difference.
Oh yeah,
not that
that's why they give it to you first.
Not that I didn't like the combat to begin off with. I quite liked the way the pistol felt. It had like quite a good little clack to it when you. It has
like a Halo Pistols feel to it, you know.
No, it doesn't. Don't you say that. Take those words out of your mouth.
It's a lot
faster.
Headshots.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't have the heaviness of. Anyway,
Yeah, Control. Anyone else got anything else that anyone wanted to say about it? It's pretty good. I think it's fair to say that we're all pretty high on it.
I just have to get better at handling stress, I guess.
Just also,
and there's no point playing a game if it makes you feel that way, though. Like, that's not worth it.
But that's the thing. I'm enjoying it. I really like it. It's just I can't handle it for very long. And it's just like, especially, I couldn't really do it after work was the main thing I was encountering. Like, the weekends is pretty good because I just wake up, I'm like, okay, I'm going to play it. It's just like, after a stressful day at work, the last thing I want to do is have more stress.
I actually played the whole thing in a headset as well because I wanted to hear the whispers and things like that.
I don't want to hear the fucking whispers. Holy shit.
Crazy incantations.
I play it listening to like 3 comedy podcasts.
It does this thing where, it'll bombard you with just vocal
It's the resonance
noise.
going through those people. It's just the worst.
Trying to understand what the board are saying.
I love the board. They're really funny.
With, the hotline and the story is pretty wild.
It's such an intensely interesting game.
Yeah, I did have to turn on subtitles though because Artie, who's the janitor's name?
Artie.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't understand him even when I read the subtitles, so I had no chance without the subtitles.
He's Finnish difficult to understand.
Yeah, he's either Finnish or Swedish. I'm pretty
Maybe
sure
he's God. I don't know what's going on.
I still don't know exactly what's up with Artie.
He's wonderful. He's a wonderful character.
I did enjoy like the very first sort of hint you get. You know how that first document you read is like, okay, don't bring cell phones in here, don't bring smart objects, don't bring, what is it, like the archetypical versions of objects like a rubber duck. I'm like, okay.
I was like, okay,
we're in for it.
What are they going for tonally?
And then when you meet Artie and he sends you to the job interview and he sends you back into the corridor, except it's like fucking etched itself, and you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I really like the way, like, obviously Artie's a really shifty looking dude. Like, you look at him and you're like, he's going to kill me the second that I turn around. And your character is like, he's probably fine, but I'll be fucked if I don't think he's fucking weird.
Yeah. I think she says something like, if there's an axe murderer in the room, it's probably him.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool the way that such weird things are happening, and sometimes they are presented in a way that could be cliche, but because all the characters acknowledge that whatever's going on is like super I don't know what the right word for it is, but like lampshaded.
Yeah.
Like, because the characters sort of acknowledge it, it does that thing where it doesn't feel as stupid.
I mean, it's treading this wonderfully fine line where it's like, okay, it's obviously a whole bunch of weird shit going on, but it's also an office that is dealing with weird shit going on all the time. So it's just someone like, I had to catalog this entire 747 because, like, something on it could be weird. Do you know how many parts there are to 747? Or just people being like, yeah, the building shifted and now we don't have restrooms. I worked for 3 years and we don't have restrooms. Motherfucker.
I really want to know what you guys thought about Control before you started playing it.
I deliberately didn't look that much into it. I knew it was a follow-up to Quantum Break, which was a game that I actively hated. And that... the physics stuff reminded me a little bit of The Force Unleashed.
I had heard that it was about generally this concept, and the concept was really cool, but I didn't know anything about how it played or how it delivered it, so I was just sort of like, eh. But if I hadn't heard good impressions beforehand, I probably wouldn't have bothered.
I thought it looked like the most generic, boring game I'd ever seen.
Really?
And I didn't look into it very much, mind. And when I heard people saying good things about it, I was superly duperly skeptical. I wanted to give it a shot because the people that were saying good things are people whose opinion I respect, which, is like 3 people. And when you got us codes, I was like, oh man, I'm so glad I'm not going to have to pay for this generic ass looking game.
Wow.
And now that I've played it, like,
and now you are eating your words.
Yeah, no, I love it
so much.
You are ashamed of your words and deeds.
I am. I don't think I could. I think generic is like the least correct word for it that I could possibly assign.
I'm actually interested in going back to play Alan Wake properly because I just sort of started it and then I was like, eh. Like, I like Max Payne 1 and 2, but that was in, like, freaking the thousands or whatever. I don't know what we're calling that decade now.
Yeah.
But
see, I never played Alan Wake because I'm a big scaredy cat, and I always assumed
I'm
it
also
would
a
be
big
too
scaredy
scary
cat, so-
for me.
The original Max Paynes were probably the last Remedy games.
I
that
like Max
actually
Payne too.
finished.
I love Max Payne 2, but yeah. I just like this, I don't know. They've got an absolute lock on just sort of, it's almost but not quite at, what's that bloody sweary game that just, Deadly Premonition levels? It's like
right.
just a little bit off. There's something wrong here, but like yeah.
Something
Yeah,
a little
I'm
bit
gonna
left
play
in the middle.
literally everything Remedy released from now on because I am the fish and I have eaten the Remedy hook
All right.
Nice.
and
They've
it is
got ya.
buried in my cheek.
They have
Okay.
got you. And then one last thing. Hope you went to a Gears 5 event in Melbourne
I
recently.
did.
And
So-
Gears 5 is actually, as of this recording, it's out for Ultimate Game Pass folk.
Love.
And people who went and paid the stupid
Just-
amount of money for like the Ultimate Edition and get it 4 days early.
I love that. I'm such a fucking sucker for it too. It's such a problem. I'm like, oh, this is the best consumer practice, and then I indulge in it.
And then,
Gross.
and then I think it'll be out by the time this comes out.
Seems
But you
likely.
didn't actually go and
Yeah.
play it, did you, Hope?
No, I went to, so they had
Good
these
job.
Gears inked events all over, and they had one in Melbourne, and I'm a massive Gears fan, so I went. But I knew that I had Ultimate and that it was coming out like literally that night. So even though it was playable on many screens, including possibly one of the biggest televisions I've ever seen, I didn't touch the game. I got my head shaved and there's a cog in it and you can't see it because I'm too blonde. I ate free burgers and mac and cheese and chippies.
Yeah.
I drank a cocktail named after the main character.
Great.
There was
PR,
a lot
I
of
love it.
gin in
I was
those
about to
cocktails.
say, was it the Dom? But no, Dom isn't like one of the main.
Dom is dead, man.
Dom is dead, man.
Dom's dead,
Dom
man.
is dead, man. No, I drank the one that was Kate because the other one was, I don't remember who it was named after, but it had tequila in it, and tequila and I have done our day, and that will not happen again. And I got some free t-shirts, and the event itself is actually probably one of the better events like this I've ever been to. There was heaps of room all the time. The DJ was cool but quiet enough
Nice.
that I could talk to people.
Nice.
It was a bit cramped in some places, but not in a way that you couldn't get away from it. Like it was a really, really cool event. And I purposefully didn't play because I wanted to talk to people and interact and see
Yeah.
how people were like feeling. And I
Well,
knew
you
I'd
get
get
to
to play
play
when
it.
I got
Yeah,
home.
exactly. PR places are the worst places to play games anyway.
Totally.
And then when I got home, there's been all these connection issues with Gears 5, and I haven't played.
Fantastic. I'm sure there'll be some news next week on that. Next time we record on that front, then.
Indeed.
Yeah. But the event was really cool.
That's awesome.
Sweet.
And that is it for the video games. We have a little bit of news here.
Yeah. Bits and pieces.
some bits and
Nintendo really
pieces
saved us on
have
that
happened.
bit, but there's still some other stuff besides Nintendo things.
There is a bunch of Nintendo things because they just went and dropped a fucking god tier E3 level direct.
That was
What
that
the
was like an
fucking
E3
fuck,
level.
Nintendo.
Yeah. Do you want to
can't
start with that then?
Yeah, sure, why not?
All right, cool. Let's see. Oh, I should probably have gathered it all in one place.
Oh,
They
no.
started off with
We've mixed
they
it
started
up.
off with Overwatch, which was the big thing for.
Yeah,
I don't know,
and we
big
talked
rumored.
about that with the cases that we saw
We did,
last
yes.
time.
So that's
So we
for
kinda knew
their
it was
surprise.
To me, it really felt like they meant to have that at the end of the presentation, but because of the leaks, they just
Yeah,
chucked
I
it
think
at
so
the beginning.
too, because they ended with Xenoblade Chronicles, which is great. Like, that is a fantastic game and a remake at that. Like, if you look at
But it's still just a port coming to Switch.
Well, I mean, that whole presentation was a lot of ports coming to Switch, but they were all great ports that everyone had been clamoring for, or some that no one had been clamoring for, but that people were like, oh, whoa, that's crazy. Like, so I think the ones that I at least was interested in, Deadly Premonition 1 came to Switch, and then was also announced at the same time as Deadly Premonition 2.
Which is
So-
fucking
That was such a
crazy,
weird
what?
way to
No
announce
one
that.
knew it existed. And then people were like, is Swery on this? We're not sure, because he left that company, actually. But he was like, oh, no, I'm still directing on that one. So,
I'm glad he's still directing.
yeah,
'cause
he's a weirdo, but like
he's one crazy motherfucker.
But that game is about him being a weirdo, like a weirdo about Twin Peaks. So
I need to play Deadly Premonition Origins.
You don't need to play Deadly Premonitions Origins, but you do need to buy it and support it anyway.
I mean, the port might fix a lot of the issues.
No, apparently the port is god awful.
I need to get my
the correct experience.
Francis York Morgan.
I played about 3 hours of Deadly Premonition, and I stopped playing because of an infinite bug where the car would just continually break and make this horrendous screeching sound every time I got in it. So it was haunted.
Fantastically terrible bug.
But no, it's. But I mean, I'm a huge fan of that game, even though it's bad to play and doesn't work.
Deadly Premonition is two of my close friends, independent of each other, favorite video games of all time, and both of them have tried to get me to play it. But I am a big chicken.
It's just so weird. Like the conversational pacing, the like slightly broken language dialogue stuff. It's such a good experience, even though it's a bad experience.
Awesome.
I mean, it's one of those things you're best placed watching a bunch of people play, but you kind of start watching it. Like almost every LP I've seen, besides the ones after the initial period where it became a cult classic, but they all started as like, oh wow, let's play this busted ass jank ass video game, and then eventually
let's play Desert Bus.
Yeah, and then eventually somewhere along the lines they end up loving it because it's so. I don't know. There's a couple of like queerphobic, transphobic stuff in it, but like it's just that definitely is problematic. But I think he's like swear his last game was The Missing, right? That from last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But apparently that is a really good like gender dysmorphia sort of game. So hopefully he's gotten over that kind of issue stuff.
I think Swery was like, and this may just be me giving him too much of the benefit of the doubt, was just the kind of dude who was like, things are funny.
Yeah, that was his breakout hit, so he hadn't probably thought about things before then.
Yeah, and like never really thought about them beyond that.
Yeah,
like,
and that's like a late thousands game, right? Like early 2010s or late
something like
noughties, I don't know. Aside from that, a whole bunch of ports. We already mentioned Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I'm excited because they look like they're restoring cut content to that game. I really like Xenoblade.
Did you see the side-by-side of, like,
yes.
that cutscene?
Yeah.
They're really doing some work
Dude,
on
the Wii version looks like shit. It is so bad. Like, I played it on Dolphin, the PC emulator, which, like, up-resed a whole bunch of stuff. It still looked bad just because of the level of asset creation that the Wii could handle. And that's a Wii game, you know? So
this is definitely a massive step up.
Yeah, it's so... Yeah, and it's been long enough for me that even an 80-hour RPG, I'm just sort of like, I'll play that again.
I actually haven't played that one, so...
I think
I love 2.
It's good. I would definitely recommend it if you liked 2. I don't know if I would recommend it to people who are like, oh, what's this all about? Because it's still a giant JRPG, so...
Yeah, you
still have to like JRPGs.
I'm hearing everything that you're putting down about this game, and like the whole time it's just echoing in my head, this is a long-ass JRPG. No.
This is like when you talk about rally games.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, but there's 2 of us, James.
The garden nomification of James has begun.
Well, speaking of long-ass JRPGs, they're putting Sharp FE Tokyo Mirage Sessions on the Switch, which is good because no one played it on the Wii. That's the Persona
just got
cross.
A big name.
That's the what is it? It was the Shin Megami Tensei cross Persona games. Although no, that's not right. What is it? Cross Fire Emblem games. That's right. Sorry. And it is surprisingly good, even though it's weeby as fuck. Like it is all about J-pop idols and like the entertainment industry and shit like that. It is, and like costumes and like just being like unapologetically Japanese as hell.
Can I just say
it's surprisingly
really
good.
Great. It's really great to say Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah,
it is fun.
It's a name that just rolls off the tongue.
They haven't said anything about Shin Megami Tensei 5, so we'll have to take this for now. But yeah,
I'm sure that'll satiate Shin Megami Tensei.
That'll say Shin Megami Tensei a lot. So. What else was there? Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy. Completely unexpected. What are they doing?
I haven't played any of these games.
They're really
I love them both. They're great.
They're really good. It's a shame that they don't have any of the multiplayer stuff in them because that was really fun.
They don't? Okay, yeah, that was really good stuff.
The single-player campaigns in both of those games are really good.
Oh, I might make an early recommendation for an article about Jedi Outcast 2 or Jedi Academy multiplayer. It's called Bao N-word, it's one of the definitive pieces of game writing, I think. It's just really interesting about the sort of subcultures that generate out of these like little weird niches, basically.
Yeah, right.
I need to process this for a second. You're recommending an article.
Yeah.
And you're telling us the article has a name?
Well, the name of the article. Like, the title of the article, I suppose.
And the title of the article is Bow N-word?
Yeah, in those specific terms. I mean, it's written by a black author. It's, like, really... I don't know. It's been a while since I read it, but it's a definitive piece of games writing. I think it's still online, if you just search that terms.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a new games journalism piece. It's from, like, 2012 or something like that. It's one of the most... it's a fairly interesting piece.
No, I absolutely want to read it, but I wanted to have all the information.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's definitely a very confronting title, and it's called that for a fairly good reason. So
cool.
Yeah,
cool.
But Jedi Outcast, and I think my main interest was like, what the hell? They wiped these from continuity. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know, right?
How the hell
did you find the masters
Holy
for
shit!
These? Jesus, someone's
they put the
LucasArts.
source code for these online.
Oh wow!
When Lucasfilm collapsed,
that's how they found it.
Who made these? I forget.
Archive.org.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's amazing. It's weird to see it on a Switch. I don't know how any of that will control, but like it was never released on consoles from memory.
It might be the best. It might be the best Star Wars game brought out in the last.
It definitely has
3 or 4 years.
Fantastic saber combat. I spent so long playing that.
Yeah, seriously.
Right, and then Obra Dinn, they also announced.
That makes me happy because that
Obra Dinn is fantastic.
Terribly motion sick, so if I can play that on a smaller screen, that would make me very pleased.
It's also
I think I'm going to have the same problems with it.
Yeah, it's also on PS4 and Xbox, I think.
I'm really glad that it's seeing light because everything I've heard about it is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I liked what I was able to play of it before I had a splitting headache and had to go stand over the toilet. But I don't think the smaller screen is going to help me. I think it's just the dots, man. I think there's something about those dots my
the
brain
CRT,
doesn't like.
I don't know what that is, Macintosh style stuff. Even I had trouble with that, and I didn't get the motion sickness, but I just didn't like looking at it for very long. Yeah. Which sucks because you have to look at it for a long time.
Yeah,
because
you have to investigate closely too.
I wish it had like a Killer 7 art style or something like that. Maybe more cel shaded. That would have been nice.
Yeah, cel shaded would have been nice.
I just wanted to talk about a couple of ports that didn't make it outside of the Japanese version of the Direct. So Famicom Detective Club 1 and 2, that's my friend's like favorite, I don't know, visual novel from like the SNES era. So just that they're getting remakes is kind of crazy.
Neat.
And then Moon, which is a classic JRPG that was never released outside of Japan. So it's getting an English translation, although that wasn't announced on the English side direct. And it is like actually so like revered within the game creator community in Japan that like I saw a roundtable with Toby Fox, the creator of Undertale, and Zun, who is the creator of the Toho series, which is like one of the most influential indie games ever made. So it's like, okay, this is actually a super revered game, basically.
Oh, speaking of Toby Fox, you've got the Sans Mi fighter outfit.
Yeah, so two things about Toby Fox. He's composing music for
Town.
Town, which
it was called Town. It's called something else now.
Like
Little Town Hero.
Little Town Hero.
Which is the Pokemon guy's game, right? The Game Freak game, yeah. So he's composing the music for that for some reason, which is really cool.
That looks rad, by the way.
I mean, he's doing it because he's fucking good at composing music.
Well, yes, that's true. Like, and then
did you see the thing where he was tweeting and Sakurai was also talking about it? And basically, Toby Fox went to Sakurai's place. He won about 50% of the games of Smash Brothers. So Sakurai was like, oh, got to put your character in Smash now.
I don't know if that's the exact sequence of events, but yeah, that's basically what happened.
Well, I think Toby Fox made some tweets as well, and then like Sakurai dropped him home in his car, and the whole time they listened to Smash tunes.
That's
and
awesome.
Apparently Fox kept insisting on calling Sakurai's car the Batmobile.
I thought the best part was that Toby didn't have a translator, so he was just speaking in broken Japanese to Sakurai, who was presumably speaking in broken English to him.
So now Sans has like a character outfit, so it's not really that Sans is
right.
In the game. It's just an outfit.
But like the internet went mad anyway, just because they didn't think it could happen, and I think they were probably right to do so because it's crazy. He has like Megalovania in Smash.
Yeah, like his song is in Smash and it's been remixed, and I
it totally for a lot of fans, well, especially for newer fans who don't know what SNK is, it definitely overshadowed the Terry Bogard news.
Oh,
because
man.
Terry
I had
Bogart's
no idea who that guy was.
Like,
oh man,
Fatal Fury.
It was classic.
What the fuck?
Oh my god, you guys! That Neo Geo video was incredible, but it was incredible to like 10% of like the people who were watching, like probably less than that, 5% of the people.
I could tell that it would be incredible for people who knew what it was.
I was flipping my lid, but like at the same time, I was also just like, oh yeah, I mean, I knew they were going to add more fighting game characters to Smash.
I mean, it makes sense.
So they announced the season 2 as well for the Fighters Pass, which is going to be interesting and see what kind of characters will end up there. I also think it's interesting that Sakurai is just like, they won't let me retire. Free me from this hell prison. I mean, not really.
Sakurai's like, go play games on your Xboxes.
But then
kids.
he was also just like, but check out all this love I poured into Banjo-Kazooie because I'm a fucking crazy person. Like, check out, like, we made these crazy routines for these characters that are like 3 pixels you see in the background. Like, come on, Sakurai. You gotta sleep sometime. He's just like, I'm going to show you how I hold these 2 controllers because I can only play against myself because I'm the only person I can beat or something like that.
But just also, like, he's still so beautiful and he looks like he's aging in reverse despite all this.
He's got a Dorian Gray picture somewhere, man.
Right? He must do. And it's just covered in, like, rejected Smash pictures.
Waluigi everywhere.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So SNES Online, there was some Tetris 99 stuff as well.
That SNES Online stuff is cool. I've played a couple of those games.
Finally, yeah.
I never had a Super Nintendo, so playing some of those games has been a real, like...
I recommend.
I'm actually pretty excited about it as well, for the same reason. Like, I wasn't allowed games as a little kid. And I've always wanted to play Super Metroid.
I played
Super Metroid's great.
For the first time...
Link to the Past and Super Metroid, you have to play. They're fantastic games.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have the opportunity to on a console that, like, it will feel really good playing it on.
Yeah, it'll be handheld. Like, I played them on my Wii U, and that was okay-ish because it's a tablet, but I was still chained to my living room, so I was like, eh. But it would be nice to play them out and about and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I can play it on the toilet.
Yeah.
No
comment.
There was also Pokemon stuff in this Direct, in case you guys were wondering.
That's one strike hope, just so you know.
The most exciting thing... Like, okay, so this new game of Pokemon, I swear they're just always hungry when they have a meeting.
All the curry stuff made me, like, I want food.
You can make curries, and there's a curry dex, so you can...
That was my favourite part, they have a curry dex. I was like, what are you talking about?
And, like, in the previous information, we discovered that there's a Pokemon called Ulcreamy, whose cream tastes good the more that you're friends with it.
Well, now you've got a tea ghost, and the tea tastes good as well, so...
But the thing is, Ulcreamy, now we know from this Direct, it comes in different flavours.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So you can catch different kinds of tasty Pokemon.
So the curry had sausages in it, and I was like,
That version
They could just be tofu.
Tofu curry, not real.
No, so Pokemon, canonically, you eat them.
Yeah, that's true. So,
like, Farfetch'd, you eat them.
Yeah.
Like, that's as simple
They're rare
as that
because of Farfetch'd. Because we eat them. It's a duck with a leek, motherfuckers. Let's go.
It's holding the thing it gets cooked with. It's an idiot. But also in the previous ones, there was
morbid.
There's that the Pikachu kind of dude.
Oh yeah, the angry one. The hangry one. Yeah.
So, and then in this one, they introduced this new little bird guy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And if
he's a derpy-looking dude, isn't he?
He shoots fish.
I love him.
So like he gets a fish in his mouth, and if he then uses like surf or something like. No, I think if he uses surf, he gets a fish in his mouth.
If he gets
attacked. And then if he gets attacked after that, he like torpedoes the fish at them. So I don't know, like does someone need to feed the people at Game Freak or the Pokemon Company? Like, are they just really hungry? Are they stoned the whole time? And it's just Munchy City.
They've run out of normal Pokemon concepts, and now they need to go completely fucking off the chain. They're just like...
I love the idea that they're like, there's this whiteboard, and it's normal, and that's been crossed out. And then underneath it is food with a question mark.
Well, they're also doing like wheezing level rubber barons or whatever with giant top hats.
I love that wheezing.
That wheezing is really cool. I want to see more Gala
but it
versions
looks like
of
a
Pokemon.
bong. It's a bong.
They also have Pokemon Camp. I don't know what that's about.
Oh, man.
Maybe you're gonna support level your Pokemon. I don't know. What's up?
It looked like they could go off and do jobs and things, and it's probably just gonna level them up or like level up their IVs and things like that.
Yeah, they're like
wager.
hidden value stuff. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
That new game still hasn't grabbed me, but I'm still sort of like, I'm still fascinated to know what that is.
I know that I'm going to play it because it's a Pokemon game. The thing I'm mildly upset about is I really thought that we'd be getting like a Steel Evolution because...
there's still time. We've still got time.
I know, but like, is it gonna happen? Because in the Pokemon camp, right?
Yeah.
They specifically had like every evolution in the camp, and I feel like that was them being like, haha, this is all of them, or is it? Like, and I don't know what to think.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay, we're going to rescue James. We've got some Animal Crossing news for James.
Well, I mean, not really. It's not really Animal Crossing news.
That's true.
That has showed some more Animal Crossing.
That was
There's
so
wind.
weird.
Stuff.
Pacing-wise, especially, it was just like, okay, now here's like 10 minutes of the same information from E3. I'm like,
yeah,
what?
it's totally
okay,
just to like
cool.
tide people over. Here's like a couple of new angles and some like new shots of like Tom Nook doing stuff. And
The listening to other people talk about it, the only thing that was truly new was wind.
Kind of, yeah. But also totally massively rehyped for more Animal Crossing. Which
Yeah, a bit more exploration of the crafting stuff as well.
I will dedicate myself.
So it worked for
wholly.
you then? That trailer?
Yes.
That little bit of a leak of info?
All of that stuff works for me.
It definitely put me into this weird meditative fugue, so... So I was like, okay, it's doing what it's meant to do.
The hiss is taking me over.
I was like, I was
Nintendo
bored
is
for
the
it,
hiss
so
the
I
whole
just
time.
didn't-
Shit.
I was like, I'm bored. This must be Animal Crossing.
Wow. You're in.
Oh, you must-
That's 2 strikes for Hope.
I don't have a soul. That's fine.
What
And then outside of... Well, outside
news
of
have we
the...
got outside of that?
Well, just to keep on the Nintendo theme, like the day after the Direct, they were like, also, here's this weird Switch thing.
Oh, the fitness hoop.
That's
It's like
right.
a weird pressure thing. I don't know what...
I
well,
want
don't know.
one
It's-
because...
I didn't know
It's
that
kinda
Halo
cool. What it
game was a
does.
Nintendo game.
Get out.
That's one.
Oh, actually, I don't know. They've been making waves with Microsoft. If they put like Halo on like Switch, I would not be amazed. I'd be like,
Chief of Smash.
weird.
Master Chief of Smash.
You hold,
I don't
you
know.
hold
They
this thing
could.
up and just Gregorian chanting is in the background. Like,
We're launching the Switch accessory, the Nintendo Halo. What the? It's just Miyamoto playing that on his banjo.
Oh man, that's so funny.
Okay.
it's KK Slider just comes in. He's like...
Okay. Well, we don't know what that is, so we'll get more information about that at some point.
So they didn't show any information about that. They just showed like a bunch of families like playing around with the hoopy thing.
They finished it off with like a date and being like, tune in to find out more about this.
Yeah, right.
I don't
So
remember
a
what the
trailer
date
for a
was.
trailer.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Well, we'll see it at some point in the future. You talked about the Gears launch earlier, right?
Yeah, so...
It's just shitty? What's up?
There's just lots of... Like, Xbox Live just can't handle it. It seems to be the
Which
case.
is really weird because Xbox infrastructure is usually really, really good. Like,
Is this the first game since the PC integration stuff, or...?
Well, I think it could be partly that. It could also be that I feel like this is the first really big title that they've had on Game Pass
Forza Horizon 4.
Would that be the same
I would think
for like multiplayer queues and
maybe
things like that?
that's had like millions and millions of players, but I mean I don't know that.
I just don't know how demanding it is on the servers.
But that's the thing is I really don't see that being a problem. Like I can't see that being a problem now, especially for Microsoft, given the fact that they have I'm getting a little bit nerdy here, but like Amazon
because
and
they
like
own the
Google
Azure servers
that have,
and all that.
yeah, exactly. That they have humongous server farms all over the world built exactly that are literally tuned for Xbox Live and tuned for this stuff. And I cannot see like server load being a problem. There must
Was it
be
localized,
something else
or
going
was
on.
it like North
No, it was
America only, or
it was
worldwide?
worldwide.
Okay.
Worldwide issues.
So something was happening.
Yeah.
And I doubt we're ever gonna hear.
They're never going to tell us exactly what it was.
I would be truly amazed if it was all because of the Gears 5 launch, which, it could be because, as you say, it did come out sort of in this Ultimate Pass thing, which means if you have Game Pass, then you get the Ultimate version, 4 days prior to launch, which like Patrick was saying
Theoretically,
before,
they should have staggered it, though.
Total shit. Sorry?
No, but like...
Theoretically, wouldn't that have staggered the amount of people coming in, though?
I think a lot of
You'd think so, wouldn't
people
you?
have Ultimate, though, because they did that deal where you paid like $1 and you got Ultimate.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that this is probably... Because of the past, there's the potential that this could be some of the biggest traffic they've had on a day one game.
It's possible.
Ever.
I mean, yeah, it is.
Maybe.
Anything is totally possible, and it certainly wouldn't be the first time that a game launch has brought down a bunch of servers. I would just be truly,
but you're right, it is suspicious.
Truly amazed if that is the only reason for that. And whether we hear anything, to a word or the other, otherwise, who knows? I don't think we'll ever hear anything about that moving forward. They might come out and say, yeah, we had some problems in launch, but we're actually coming out proper tomorrow and it's going to be a big patch and everything will be fine. We fixed a whole bunch of shit in the back end and everything will be fine. You don't need to worry about it.
The good thing about Gears is, even though I haven't played it yet, it's been reviewing fairly well.
Has it?
It appears to be getting high 8s.
That's good.
People are saying it's a lot better than 4, and 4 was a bit of a meh. So I'm excited to finally play it. I will admit, I haven't tried very hard to play it because I've known about the issues and because I was playing Control. So it's not like I've been fighting to get in there, but...
Yeah, these games are just taking up... Astral Chain is probably going to take up some more time, and I still want to finish River City Girls as well, and Control. So I'm just oh man, I'm juggling so many games. It's crazy.
I want to finish Fire Emblem, which I'm
I've got to dive back in at some point. I still miss those kids.
Into that, so I've still got ages to go on that, and I would like to go back and actually finish Dragon Quest Builders 2 at some point too. But then I've also I might be reviewing the Surge 2 soon.
Yeah, that's without going to stuff that I might get review commissioned on.
Yeah, exactly. So this is
that's
also
tough.
This is review season. So
freaking Outer Worlds is which Worlds, right? Worlds, the Outer
Worlds, not Wild.
That's out next. Yep. That's out next month. So, if people are reviewing it, they're gonna get it 3 weeks before, hopefully.
The way to remember it
Borderlands
is
3
Worlds.
comes out at the end of the week.
Oh, nobody cares. The way to remember it is Worlds has an O like Obsidian.
Oh, that's a good mnemonic.
Wilds has an I like Indie.
Oh, that's a good mnemonic.
Yeah.
Actually into that.
Oh,
I came up with it just now.
Speaking of Ikumi Nakamura, who was the creative director on what was it, Ghostwire Tokyo? Was that the game?
Yeah.
Ghostwire Tokyo.
Big splash at
She
E3.
was the darling that everybody fell in love with, including
on
me.
stage.
She's also been one of the artistic director at Tango for
ages. She was on Evil Within
a decade.
1, Evil Within 2. She's been around the industry for a long time as well, but she was at Tango for 8 or 9 years, I think.
Yeah.
And then suddenly she's just up and left. She said, new adventure, blah, blah, blah. Didn't say what she was doing yet, said she was looking for work. And then, it didn't seem to be a bad split or anything.
Any, animosity or anything?
No, because Tango
at least I haven't picked up on it.
Well, Tango definitely did a post that was just wish her all the best in her next line or whatever. It's just weird that Ghostwire didn't show anything. She was the face of Ghostwire, basically, because she came out at E3 with it, and I don't know if that was intentional to, make her the focus of the project necessarily, but that's what they did. And then suddenly she's like, I'm out of here, bye.
Yeah.
I wonder if, because of E3... and that sudden boom in popularity that she had because she was so good, if that kind of got her some exposure to people who maybe had better offers for her.
It's entirely possible.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Because the Evil Within was very much all about Mikami.
Yeah, a lot of the talk around E3 was that one Mikami successor directed Evil Within 2, and then she was named as the other Mikami successor, so to speak, or someone who was inheriting his protege sort of style.
Right.
And then to see her suddenly leave and not have a she wasn't I'm going to work on this, or I'm going to do a movie, or I'm going to. It's a strange... she basically left with a looking for work thing.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I don't know. Maybe we're looking too far
really
into it. It's just some
me.
personal stuff. Who knows? It's...
Maybe she just wanted a break, man.
Yeah, that's perfectly valid. So who knows?
Yeah, totally. It's for me. It's interesting to see. It's interesting from an optics point of view. As you say, they did walk her out center stage and sort of let her sort of own the stage over the introduction for Ghostwire Tokyo.
Mikami introduced her,
which
basically.
showed really, really well. Ghostwire Tokyo got a huge response from E3.
It looked so interesting.
It really did,
especially for something that wasn't showing any gameplay whatsoever. We don't know how that game plays, what it is at all. It was just the CG trailer, and it still popped.
that is the other reason why I think this is so interesting, because when we don't know how far into development Ghostwire is, we presume it's a reasonably long way, but the creative director upping and leaving during the middle of a project isn't normally a good sign.
Yeah.
So that just to me, all I'm saying is it raises questions, and hopefully those questions are answered, and they're answered in a nice way, and that game retains its potential and continues to hopefully turns out to be something really cool. But I don't know, we'll see. Wish her all the best. She's obviously going to go and do some really cool shit.
Yeah. And lastly, on the news front, this was fairly early in the 2-week cycle that we had, but the Yakuza team had an event, and they revealed Yakuza 7. And Yakuza 7 is now a turn-based game.
What the fucking...
I am
turn-based
stoked
RPG.
about this.
I am fairly
so
interested.
Happy.
I was initially like, what the fuck? But then I was also like, actually, I haven't enjoyed the brawling for like 3 games straight, so...
Yeah, I love Yakuza games. I hate the combat.
I like heat moves. I like the bullshit animation they do, and this is going to still retain all that stuff. It's going to have other people in your party, so you'll, I don't know, pop out a housewife and a salaryman and a detective gone wrong or something, and they'll all like beat the shit out of bugs with chairs.
Yeah, there's like
I don't know,
a kid who wants a porno.
Like my only real concern about them switching to this is that maybe it'll up the time you need to do stuff, but like whatever.
My only concern is in the Yakuza games, when you're roaming around the cities, I'm always avoiding those little fights. Yeah. And if those fights have to like take place in a new screen and they sort of break out the action that much, that could be quite a lot of janking around.
I think from the video it looks like almost Chrono Trigger style, where you just like they've gotten. I mean, even Fire Emblem demonstrates this to some extent, but they've gotten stuff to the point where things can exist on this. Like the map can scale to multiple levels of like game mode, so it's probably not going to load an entirely new map or something like that. It's just going to like just turn into battle mode or something like that. Is my guess. And
I'm wondering if that will be just too much. Like if you're running around the street and every 5 seconds you are in battle mode and then you've got to like get out of it.
Yeah, that's my concern as well. But
as long as they manage that, then I'm for it. I want a different combat in Yakuza because I don't like the combat. Yakuza.
I think I agree as well. This was previously Shin Yakuza. It's now just Yakuza 7. In the English, it's Like a Dragon, which is actually the Japanese subtitle for the whole series. So I think the Japanese title is something like Between the Paths of Light and Dark or something flowery like that. But it's just Like a Dragon in the West. So... which is like Biohazard, Resident Evil, and Resident Evil Biohazard.
Yeah,
basically.
I heard the inspiration for this was that like one of the Yakuza leads had basically just played a whole bunch of Dragon Quest and was like, "Oh, this is pretty sweet. Let's take one of these."
Well, he definitely was like the main. It's got a new main character because it's part of this new series or whatever. It's set in Yokohama, not Kamurocho, so. Who knows how that's going to go. But apparently the main lead also likes Dragon Quest. And I read somewhere in an interview, it's like, Dragon Quest was the only time he truly felt happy. I was like, well, that's a good detail. Like, that's the reason he envisions fights like Dragon Quest. I'm like, okay, great.
That's very funny.
Also, I've been to Yokohama, and it has an amazing ramen museum.
It's got a chat.
So I hope that's in the game.
It probably will be. Like, they love putting just landmarks in there.
Actually, it might be Shin Yokohama. But anyway, they're close. And the ramen museum, I'll tell you about it super quick because it's amazing.
Official Yokohama correspondent.
And it's all these... It's all done up like 1950s Japan.
Oh, yes.
And there's all these separate little tiny rooms that are different restaurants, so you can try like tiny bowls of ramen, so you can try lots of them. And then you go upstairs again, and there's like this old-timey lolly shop as well, and they'll make some lollies for you on the spot. It's incredible.
That's rad.
Yeah.
Definitely beats the cup noodle museum that I went to in Osaka.
Oh, wow.
Actually, there's a cup museum like on top of it, so you can experience both.
The Cup Noodle Museum was just on the last episode of Terrace House that I watched.
Fantastic.
It's very funny.
That's it for that news, I think. The stuff that I've got listed anyway. There was some more depressing developments around things that are depressing, which I don't really want to talk about. So
yeah, that's fair enough. Plus, they're not here, and I don't really know much about that stuff. None of us really do. So let's leave that. We'll let that stuff play out, and we'll comment on it again if the need arises. I just realized that Demon X Machina comes out this week, and that
they put a demo out as part of the direct, but I'm just too many fucking games right now. I just can't spend the time.
I could.
I think you mean Damon Cross Machina.
No, it's Damon X Machina. No. It is Damon X Machina. That one was said out loud. So.
No, Damon Cross Machina is wrong, and anyone who calls the X on a PlayStation controller cross is a cop or a narc.
Tekken X
both.
Street Fighter?
Possibly both. Tekken X Street Fighter, exactly.
The Crossbox 360?
Yeah. No one says it's not like fighting E cross. That's not how it works. Anyway.
Okay, we're lost.
What other video games coming out soon? Anything else that is exciting? The Surge 2 comes out 24th of September. Wow. Planescape Torment, Baldur's Gate and all those enhanced editions come out on the 24th of September as well.
Oh, fancy.
And then, wow, Link's Awakening, the remake of Link's Awakening comes out on the 20th of September. The one that looks like the little wooden toy box.
Yeah.
Stuff. Oh, that's right. I forgot that you hate the art style. Wow, Tropico 6 is out. Oh, that's for consoles. Meh.
Lots of stuff happening.
Breakpoint, Tom Clancy. Oh, Indivisible's out soon. That's kind of cool.
What's that?
It's an indie game from the guys who made... Is that the Skullgirls team? I can't remember who that is, but... oh my god, CBS Interactive, don't pop up on me. That's some bullshit. Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. That's kind of okay. Switcher.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Witcher 3 is coming to the Switch. I still can't believe
Medieval finally coming out after people were like, oh, Medieval should come out sometime.
Yeah,
like,
wow. Don't get too far ahead, guys. We're going to record another podcast.
I know, that's like October.
That's true. We're deep. I guess the furthest I'll go is say Outer Worlds is out at the end of October. I'm sort of like, ooh, I could really go for a long Western RPG.
I'm in the mood for one too. I want to
especially
make
by that
amoral
team.
choices.
I will say, I forgot to mention this about Astral Chain, but the only thing I really don't like about it is that your main character is a freaking deaf mute, like they are in so many games, and it is especially egregious in Astral Chain because, like, you can choose a male or female character at the beginning, and the person you don't choose becomes like a character in the game, and they are constantly talking at you, and that means that they recorded voice, like both of them have voice actors, and they recorded like dialogue for both of them, and they're just constantly talking, and you're just like, yes, I'm nodding because I'm a deaf protagonist and I can't say anything. It's so annoying.
You know what you've just reminded me of? You just reminded me of the opening of Rage 2, where you also select either a male or a female gendered character, and then the character that you don't pick runs up next to a door, and just before they open it, it gets blown open, and it destroys them.
So basically, you choose who lives.
Yes,
yeah,
pretty much.
That's pretty funny.
It's very funny.
It's like, which one of these children is your favorite?
Hey, we got a couple of recommendations here just before we wrap everything up. Tell us a little bit more about the SCP Foundation stuff that you were telling us a little bit about before.
Yeah, so do you guys know anything about this at all?
Nothing at all.
I know that it's like Control.
Yeah, I think I've actually seen a couple of people reference it in Control discussions. But.
So basically what it is kind of like organized creepypasta. So it's like a group of internet like writers, and it's not an organized group of internet writers. It's literally like, oh, if you submit a story to this like location at like this forum basically, and we upvote it if it's good and downvote it if it's bad. And it's just like the shared fiction universe is basically, well, I would go so far as to say Control probably took a lot of ideas from this, which is like, it's a paranormal investigation bureau that investigates objects and locks them up. And if you actually read any of the entries, you'll see it's almost like the layout of a lot of the stuff is like, okay, this is the object SCP-003 or whatever, like containment status.
So it's creepypasta about these objects.
Yeah, and it's like containment status, blah, blah, blah. Like, here's what you need to do to contain the object, and here's a description of how we found the object. And they're all like, and the thing is, because of the format, it's really actually super creative in the, like, not only is it unconstrained by having to be, I don't know, commercially viable or whatever. So there's like all sorts of weird stuff that is like, one of my favorite, and by favorite I mean gives me literal nightmares, is of SCP object, which is called like So they all have like numbers, but they all have just titles, so you know what they are, like just by glancing at it. And it's called Ronald Reagan speaking while being cut up, and that is literally what it is. It's just like, here's an anomalous object, which is just like the president of the United States speaking, but as he speaks, the like text of the thing becomes more and more weird, and he like starts getting cut on the face or whatever, and he doesn't seem to react in any way, and you're like, what the fuck is happening?
What?
So there's like, yeah, so like so Control is definitely a tier below in terms of fucking weirdness, because there's stuff like
fucking grim ass shit.
Like there is stuff there which is like cognito hazards, which are like stuff that will get like, there's objects that are funny, which is like an object. I think SCP-50 maybe is an object that can't be described. So the entire article is just trying to describe an object without describing the object.
That's awesome.
Or like,
that's great.
And like just sort of wild bullshit like that. So it is actually like honestly one of my favorite things to read, except that it gives me literal nightmares. I would hardly recommend it if you can handle literal nightmares.
Someone needs to collate the less scary ones so I can read them.
Yeah, I definitely do recommend it, because there are some really funny ones in there as well. I go on a browsing adventure. Like, there's literal thousands of these at this point, so I go on a browsing adventure every couple of years.
Neat. That's rad. The SAP project.
It kind of sounds like a way scarier version of Night Vale.
It has like a crossover fanfiction with Night Vale, actually.
Yeah, like it sounds like it's got like a similar sort of vibe to it. But like obviously way more terrifying.
Yeah, well, it sort of varies. Like, there's some really hopeful stuff as well in there, but
I guess
the focus of it is definitely much more like, yeah, I'm going to like literally make you unable to think about things for a while.
Yeah, whereas Night Vale is like, I really enjoy Night Vale, so no shade to it or anything, but it's definitely a bit lighthearted and like humorous, rather than trying to make you scary.
I find Night Vale still super creepy though, because like
I don't.
I find like the humorous aspect to it does make it more creepy in some ways.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always just found it to be like, well, it's parody, right?
Yeah, reactions to horror differ between people, I think. So.
But I'm such a wuss, so I'm so surprised. Maybe I'm not as bad as I think I am.
Well, maybe I'm a huge wuss.
Maybe my brain is like, I make a funny. I scare, so let's laugh. Ha, yeah.
James, you have a recommendation?
Speaking of things that
terrify you
and terrify you, we got a new kitten.
Oh my god!
A little
Scary.
guy. His name is Eugene.
I love that he's your scarf.
He is the best scarf. He's actually learned how to just like leap up onto my shoulder now. He just he'll either physically climb me and then just sit on my shoulder, or I know it's the coolest thing in the world.
I want some pets so bad, but
that's the thing I miss about, because I'm so allergic to cats, so I can't have them and I can't really be around them. But I had cats when I was younger because I love cats. Like, I love most animals. But I missed, like, dogs and stuff. Like, they might jump on your lap, but that's kind of the worst of it. Like, they're pretty good with personal space, I guess, compared to cats. But, like, I do miss just having a cat be like, hey, I'm going to sit on your face and hug you, and this is where I am now. And whereas if a cat does that to me now, I'll
walk
die.
Past me. If you walk past me, I'm going to swipe the shit out of you. I'll grab you. You're mine.
There's a certain level of interactivity.
Yeah, they well, either that or like complete nonchalance. Just like, I'm. Who the fuck are you? I am
their boss. They know it.
I'm the queen, and I'll just. I'm walking this way. Don't even think about looking at me. That's like my other cat, Eva, who is at the moment. Her reaction to Eugene is, "Who the fuck are you? Stay fuck away from me."
Eugene a kitten or a couple years old?
Eugene is a kitten. He's like a little domestic short-haired little black kitten, and he's like a little scrappy. We adopted him from a place called the Cat Protection Society, and they got him in as like a friendly stray. So I picture him as like this little scrappy little Street Fighter guy, and then Eva, who's our other cat, who she's just about to turn 4 or just has turned 4, is like.
She's regal and Cleopatra.
A pure breed Russian blue who we got from a breeder and is just like diva. She knows it? Yeah, she totally knows it. Little supermodel cat. And she's just this little scrappy Street Fighter guy running around who's like a little scampy, zippy little dude. And she's just like, get away from me, man. Just don't even try to fuck with me.
I find this so interesting because I've got dogs, and Lily is my eldest dog, and Tracer's my puppy. But she's like 2 now. But when we got Tracer as a little puppy, we brought her in, and Lily was the most adorable thing. Lily was bringing her toys.
Oh, that's so cute.
And would like leave them there. But every time Tracer saw Lily, Tracer would just scream. Like, she was terrified. And Lily would look at me like, help, I try to be nice. I bring toys. What more can I do? And Tracer would just be like, get it away from me. So I do love hearing stories of how pets integrate.
Oh, man. Oh, it's going to be so funny trying to watch these two get along or like turn out to hate each other. I don't know. And then corn.
What is like corn? Corn.
Yeah, it's corn. Vegan. I think it's vegan, but like it's fake meat.
Okay.
You can buy it in your freezer aisle, and it is by far the best fake meat that is readily available that isn't super expensive I have found.
Fantastic.
It is
good. Definitely go for more of that, actually.
Yeah, I think it uses like a mushroom as a base. And maybe some egg whites. Maybe it's not vegan. Anyway,
it's vegetarian,
but it does,
at least. But...
Yeah, and it's, you know, a bit more sustainable. I try to eat less meat nowadays just because I don't know what else to do in the sinking environmental disaster that we have. So I do the little things I can and try not to die. But it's so I made corn nuggets tonight, which is why I thought about it. And they're not the same as chicken nuggets, but they're very edible. They do these chicken chunks. A
glowing recommendation.
Which are pretty similar to chicken.
Listen, you have to take what you can get with with meat substitute stuff.
And they do a mince that's pretty good too. I guess I think what corn does really well is it doesn't try to taste exactly like the other things. Yeah. It has its own flavor. So it doesn't have that fakeness to it.
Like, as someone who has gotten, for whatever reason, super into cauliflower as a substitute for potato recently, I understand where you're coming from, because I'm just sort of like, well, this doesn't taste anything like a mashed potato, but it kind of tastes good, so I guess I'll eat it.
Yeah, I think if you were looking to try to eat less meat and you want something that will still make you kind of feel like you've eaten meat but not taste gross, try corn. Yeah.
And if you have good money, go to the Buddhist temple down in Wollongong, because they do really good fake meat.
Oh, by the way, it's Quorn. I'm not just saying corn.
Yeah, Quorn.
Corn, the band that was in... What was that game?
I love the idea that people are like, yes, Hope, everyone's had corn on the cob before. I don't know why you're telling us it's like meat. Like,
corn's super like meat.
Like... Yeah, you get it in your freezer aisle. Yeah, no fucking shit, Hope. Like, little corn kernels in a bag. Yeah, no, it's a different thing.
And on that note, I reckon we're going to wrap that up. You can email us at vgst@videogamers.com. Let us know what cool shit that you've been doing or playing or would recommend to us. Yeah. We'd love to have a look and see what it is that you folks are up to. Patrick, where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me at Jinto_AU on Twitter, and first thing, I'm going to get a new mic, so hopefully this voice will be less crap next time you hear it. And secondly, I've got a panel at PAX. Objection, Phoenix Wright, and Real Lawyers. I'm a real lawyer. I got some other real lawyers. We're going to talk about Phoenix Wright, so see you at PAX Australia.
That is super awesome. Hope, what about you? Where can people find you on the internet?
I am on Twitter at Hope_Corrigan, and I am not on any PAX panels. I don't think any of mine got approved. But I will be at PAX, so you can just say hi like normal people.
That's glorious.
What? Gross. Saying hi like normal people. Ugh.
Don't fucking touch me.
And you can find me at j_swimbags. I too will be at PAX. I was actually not going to be there this year until the
magic.
Very, very kind folks at Player 2 offered to help me get along there. And I think Hope might have been a little bit responsible for that too. So thank you, Hope.
Thank you, Hope.
And it will be good to see everybody there.
Although we're going to do a live recording.
That's still...
that's really...
We are going to be recording an episode there, believe it or not. It's only going to be a quick one because they only give you hour slots on the floor. But I think we might also try and put something together. Maybe if we can like interview some developers or something.
Oh, that'll be nice.
We'll work out what's going to go on.
Yeah, we will.
We'll see what we can swing together. But that's a little while away yet. PAX Australia is about a month away from the time of this
We're just getting excited.
I know
you can say that, but I still need to prepare my panel, so it's basically zero time at all.
Oh, and depending on how it works out, I might be starting a new podcast in a couple of weeks.
Oh, my goodness gracious. It's all.
I don't want to say too much until it's happened.
It's all happening. And
Yes, Tracer.
If that does happen, I mean, if that does happen, it'll be up here, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
It might be in a couple places.
Okay, neat. It's all happening all over the place. And
Fantastic.
That's been some more video game small talk, folks. Thank you so much for hanging out and listening. Like, subscribe, share with all your friends, all that sort of fun stuff. And we will catch you on the flip side for more video games.
Small.
Video games.
Laters.
Cheers, loves.
Laters.